Welcome back to Counterculture, where we counterculturize things.
Right.
Things that the culture seems to say, like, hey, we should do it this way. But we look at it and say, maybe we should be looking at it with a fresh perspective. Maybe we should look at it differently. All right, one of those things I found very interesting. You're reading through the Gospels right now. You just told me.
I did.
I'm reading sporadically. God's sending me all over the place. But frequently I find myself going back to the Sermon on the Mount.
Does that make you a spaz?
Don't give me another word.
Okay.
Spazification.
Oh, no.
Yes! Coming to a sermon this Sunday. The
Coming to a sermon near you.
I am under the process of spazification.
Yeah, well, your church already knows that.
Can we go to Matthew chapter 6?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I want to go right at the beginning. So I want you to read for me the first 4 verses, please, Pastor Mark.
Be careful not to do your acts of righteousness before men, to be seen by them. If you do, then you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by men. I tell you the truth, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you.
So this whole concept of giving to the needy, right? Our culture is very proud of giving to the needy. Right? We are always announcing how much was donated to this, or how much was given to this organization, how much was given in the times of crises, how much we give overseas to countries and places and people. We're constantly announcing our good works. Mm-hmm. Right? Even churches, to some degree, announce it. Right? They part of it, we do it out of accountability. Right? But we have giving sheets, and we tell where we've given money and where we haven't given money and all of that kind of stuff. And quite frankly, if you were to put on your statement, financial statement for the church, hey, this month we gave $2,500 out to people would start complaining, want to know where that $2,500 went. We just want to know these things. But Jesus seemingly tells us, hey, you might want to be counterculture on this whole thing. Mm-hmm. You might want to fight that desire to be constantly pointing out to others what you're doing and how much you're giving and all of those things, and do it a little more guardedly. So when you read this, first, what do you think about it? Second, how do you apply this to yourself and to your church?
I just don't give to the needy, that way I don't have to worry about it. No, I can stay.
This sounds like a perfect answer.
I know.
There are no needy.
Well, the thing that jumped out at me with this is there's an assumption here that Jesus is making that they are doing acts of righteousness. They are doing this.
Yep.
And there's also the understanding here, I think, that Jesus expects us to do something to help needy. He says, so when you give to the needy.
Exactly.
And he says, but when you give to the needy. Now, I don't have the Greek right in front of me, but it's interesting. When you read it, it says, but so when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and the streets. They've already received their thing. He goes, but when you give. So it'd be interesting to see if I had my Greek New Testament in front of me, to see if you was the main part here, because he is assuming we're going to do this.
Yep.
I think one of the things that's really hard is who is really needy.
There you go.
We were all kids at one time. I was a kid once. Mm-hmm. I mean, I really was. I still am sometimes. I'm too old to grow up now. How many times did you hear your son, Mr. Perfect? No, I'm just joking. Timothy's close, though. He's really close.
I thought you were talking about me being your son.
No.
Oh, you were in the
We were talking about Timothy. We know Timothy does no wrong.
That's not a true statement, but yeah, let's go with it.
Okay. We'll go with it. We'll boost him up a little bit. Boost him.
Timothy.
How many kids said, well, I need it. I need that toy. No, you don't need it. You wanted it. there's so many things today I can justify and say, well, I needed it. And I didn't need it. I wanted it, And so sometimes this question of need is, and then when Jesus looked at people and he experienced them, he really went to what the true need was. A lot of times sometimes people need to hear the truth. When we preach on Sunday, my people pray for me that I wouldn't tell them what they want to hear.
Tell them what they need to
They
hear.
tell them what they need to hear because that's what they've come for.
Exactly.
And so I think there's a piece of this, and it requires some judgment on our part. And judgments, we all have judgments, but that does not mean we're judgmental. They're discernments. We have to decide what does Andy really need here. Does Andy need the $20 to make him feel better, or does Andy just need a listening ear today? My wife and I have learned, we coach young couples in this, about two ways of listening. One is, and I will ask my wife this: do you want me to listen, to just listen, or do you want me to listen for a response? Because there's a difference.
Yep.
And my life is so much easier, and hers is too, because if it's just listen, I can just sit there and listen, and I don't have to think about a solution, which is a gift to me.
That's right.
But it's a gift to her that she knows I'm not going to try and fix this. But she says, yeah, I would like you to give me your thoughts on this. Now it changes, and I
gotta
can
really
give
pay
some
attention.
thoughts. But I can assume that and say, well, she needs me to give her advice.
Yep.
And then she doesn't really want my advice, and that
fix this for you.
goes also where, sometimes, I could tell you something and you think, oh, he wants my advice. No, sometimes I want you to listen.
Just want to be able to
So maybe the best way we can ask someone is, I ask this question, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, well, this, that, or that. Well, I can't do that, but I can do this.
Yep.
I can do, and I have to be able to discern, is that really, well, I need you to pay my rent. And, well, is that really what they need, or do they need to, do I really need to help them figure out how they can pay their rent? Because at some point, Mark, they're going to run out of my money, and I may not be able to help them with their rent. So maybe if I help them, here's a problem. I remember working with a guy once when I worked at our denomination's headquarters. He was telling me about his kids got their ATV hung up on a berm.
Right.
In the middle. You know how that goes. The wheels don't catch in the front, catch in the back. And his wife was like, they're watching him out there and make sure they're okay. And his wife says, well, you need to go out and help them get it unstuck. And he goes, no, let's see what they do. They figured it out.
Isn't that amazing?
They figured it out,
amazing.
And he would have gone out and helped them, but he wanted to give them the opportunity to figure it out. Sometimes we rush in. Are there people in need? Absolutely. There's people in need, without a doubt. What is the real thing they need is the discernment. And we ask God, what is it they really need here? And how do you want me to help, God? How do you want me to help?
Love that. So one of the things that I was taught early on.
And don't toot your horn. Don't use trumpets. Use French horns if you're going to announce what you've
flutes
done.
and piccolos.
Flutes and piccolos.
One of the things that I was taught early on was how to discern between want and need. Was that I would be told, I'd walk up and say, I need this.
Yeah.
And my mom would say, well, then buy it.
Yeah.
If you need it, then you get it.
Right.
You have the ability to do that. And then it would be amazing how quickly things would turn from a need to a want.
Yes.
What I really am saying is, Mom, I want you to buy this for me.
Right.
Right. But when it turns into, okay, so I think of that often, like with rent, like you need me to pay your rent. That's great. So tell me how much money you have towards your rent. Tell me this is a need.
Yeah.
Then you tell me what you've sacrificed this month in order to be able to pay your
and we
rent.
know the thing. Did you not know your rent was coming?
Exactly.
Lack of preparation on your part does not mean an emergency mind. But the real issue here, and I didn't mean to go off on this, is how we respond to it.
Exactly.
We don't need to be telling everybody everything we did. We'd like to, because there is sometimes. Is it okay to do if it inspires someone else to give? If I say, Andy, I gotta tell you, I did this thing. It was really cool. I just got a huge blessing. Now, that's different. That's saying, wow, Andy, I just want to share how God blessed me as I bless someone else. And maybe that's going to inspire you.
Should.
But when I go, I got to tell you what I did, Andy. I must be the best pastor
I
in
give
the world.
$800 towards this.
Yes.
So do you ever find what I found once, and never forget this story, right? A family in need, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lady and her kids were in need, decided to do a week's worth of meals, right?
Mm-hmm.
First lady made spaghetti for the family. Fantastic, right? The lady who was going to provide the next meal called the first lady, right? Like, hey, what did you give for them? So normally that's so that we don't do the same thing, right?
Yeah. There's sometimes a reason.
She made her spaghetti, right? So can I kid you not? Third lady made her spaghetti. This family had like 6 days worth of spaghetti because it became about, well, I want you to have mine. Because I want you to say mine's the better.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of being, hey, let's not make spaghetti. Let's work on it. It turned away from being the needy person to a contest of, hey, I want this person to say that my spaghetti was the best spaghetti.
Yeah. Bob Benson would come in handy right now with it. It's not about you.
It's not about you, right?
Yeah.
We find that a lot of times when you tell me, like, hey, Andy, I'm sponsoring an overseas child, and like it is just such a blessing.
Right.
It's not that I have a heart to sponsor an overseas child. It's I want to be seen as an equal pastor as you, and like, if you're doing that, well then must be I need to do that, right? So you get into this where when you let me know exactly what you've done. If you let me know I gave $500, I want to give $600. There's this normal response with it as to outdo each other. Right? Now, good charities, they build off of that. Mm-hmm. They'll tell people what was given because they want the next person to want to give more. Like that's how you build it, right? Mm-hmm. But as a church, it's not about how much we gave and how much we did. Mm-hmm. It's about that we're taking care of the needy, that we recognize the needy and we're taking care of them.
Yeah. And what is the need? And Lord, help me see the need. But Peter said that when he saw the crippled beggar. Silver and gold I don't have.
Right.
But what I do have, I give you, and I have Jesus, and I give you Jesus. That's what I can give you, and sometimes that is the best thing. First of all, that is the best thing we have to offer. The second thing is that we, we give what we have, and out of what we have, but also trusting that God says, hey, do this, do this, know. So
fantastic. Well, that sounds like a great place to leave this counterculture. Just do this. God tells you to do it. You do it, and you don't do it with anybody else in mind. You do it with Jesus in mind, and we don't.
Whenever you did it to one of these, the least of these, you did it unto me.
And imagine getting to heaven and having a whole list of you did these things, and nobody on earth knows what you did. I think that's amazing. Let's do that. All right, hey, we'll see you next time here on Counterculture.
Grace and peace.